Mana TV International viewers. Welcome back to one more exciting session on our series, Healthy Life the Vegan Way. I'm your host, Dr. Kalindi Bakshi. Healthy Life the Vegan Way is in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, whose mission is to empower you to be healthy, kind, vegan, and human. Today, we are back with Dr. Shrenik Shah. For those who are new, Dr. Shah is a humanitarian and advocate of veganism and a practicing physician in internal medicine for over 35 years. And he is a vegan for over 20 years. He's a firm believer and follower of whole food plant-based diet. And we have Dr. Moise Kasubai back here, and he is an associate chair of medicine in an academic medical center with a passionate interest in plant-based nutrition to prevent, reverse chronic medical conditions. And he's a great advocate of plant-based diet. So today we have a very different angle to this show. So far, if you guys know, we have discussed whys of adopting a plant-based diet. And hopefully by now, all of us have convinced you that this is perhaps the best way to prevent, manage, and reverse major health conditions. We talked about cholesterol, we talked about reversing diabetes, talked about cancers, we talked about obesity and weight management. So today we are going to focus on how do we put veganism in practice? How do we practice veganism in the kitchen? And I'm going to start with Dr. Shah, asking him the basic question or the mantra we have been talking about all this while. What exactly is a whole food plant-based diet?
Before we go on, I would like to introduce Dr. Kalindi Bakshi. She talks about everybody else, but she never talks about herself, of course. Kalindi is a very fascinating person. She's a neuroscientist. She is a medical professor and researcher at Academic Institute. And now she has become very passionate about the health and fitness and a whole food plant-based diet. This passion has led her to launch multiple successful ventures in the plant-based retail sector. So she has a lot of experience. So you guys are getting from the top person, the queen of a vegan kitchen. So she's also an advisor, consultant for plant-based product development and marketing. So she has a lot of experience behind this beautiful face. So let's hear what Kalindi has to say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for the great introduction.
So as we are familiar, like you mentioned, see, a lot of people have become really well versed with the vegetable plant-based diet, whole food plant-based diet. People started as vegetarian, they become vegan, and now we're talking about whole food plant-based diet, which is more modifications. So it involves more on a complex carbohydrates, proteins, healthy fats, and all those kind of things. And the benefits, as you also mentioned, is preventing or even treating diabetes, high blood pressure, even cholesterol. So subsequently reducing the incidence of heart disease and obesity connected with cancers. And not to mention even, which will come later on, is environmental factors, how the veganism plant-based diet can really help the environment. So it's all our future lies on this changing trend the world is embracing. And we want the audience to take this another next step into that. But before we go into that, I always recommend 3 mantras for taking any beautiful step in life. First is Shravan, Manan, and Acharan. Shravan is not just listening. It's a beautiful Sanskrit word. It's not just listening, but gathering the information from all your 5 senses, whether you listen or you read or you discuss, whatever you see, all those things has to be absorbed into your mind. And then comes the Manan. Manan is you brood over it. You just don't put it into action. If you just listen and then put it into action, your action is not going to last too long. Manan is actually digesting thoroughly inside your mind, putting all the pluses and minuses and pros and cons and all those things. And then comes the Acharan. Acharan is the final action. Once the Acharan is backed by the proper Shravan and proper Manan, your Acharan will be always pure. And that will be a permanent step in the direction of a whole food plant-based diet. So what do you think? So this is the guideline that we really recommend the listeners to follow. Don't jump in. there are a lot of things we need to do, right, Dr. Moise?
Yes, Dr. Shah, thank you very much. And of course, I completely agree. Kalindi is very well respected. She's very well known. She's done wonderful work and actually done the groundwork for, making the plant-based diet and plant-based nutrition very common and very easily available to many of us out here. Just to add that, I mean, plant-based nutrition, I'm putting my academic hat out here and says that it's the only nutrition that has been shown over the last 20 years to have the maximum amount of research showing that it benefits. It, of course, as you mentioned, decreases all your chronic diseases. Beautiful thing about it is there's a triple aim involved out here. It's good for you, it's good for the animals, and it's good for the planet. So why not use it where it's going to benefit all of us? It's nutritious. You don't have to count your calories on them anymore. You can eat as much as you want. Of course, you can take some time to fast, not to eat all the time, but you can eat as much as you want at a sitting, really. And it's also very filling in satiety, and it is beautiful. It has antioxidants, it has fiber, it has phytochemicals. It's your skin starts glowing after this. So I think with all of this, Kalindi, thank you very much, and she's going to guide us how to make the food, what to make it with, and how the pantry should be and how it should look like.
Dr. Shah and Dr. Kasubai for such kind words. All three of us are passionate plant-based, whole food plant-based, lovers. And I just feel that I love to share this passion with others. And I feel like, just knowing, just like Dr. Shah said, he put it so beautifully, that you, before jumping into something, know what you are jumping into. And if you put that thought, if you put that effort, it's going to be a long lasting process, not just a short-lived one. And today information is literally on your fingertips. So I'm going to repeat what Dr. Shah said again, that please be an informed consumer of whatever you are getting into. And in today's day and age, plant-based has been to follow a whole food plant-based diet has been so easy. The grocery store aisles are filled with, all natural foods or whole foods. There are bulk beans in grocery stores. So that has become much easier than, I think, back in the time when both of you probably started, right, Dr. Shah? 20 years, 25 years ago, you had to probably... It was probably as good as you had to hunt for vegan foods, right?
Absolutely.
So the first thing what I recommend anyone to start with is start with your pantry, of course, start with your kitchen, like look at what items you have in your pantry. And either one after another, try replacing them with whole food plant-based items. So I'll give you an example. When you walk into your grocery store, this is like perhaps the best way to explain. When you walk into your grocery store, what aisle would you walk in? The very first aisle, most of the grocery stores is a huge produce aisle, correct? So there you go. That's the biggest aisle probably in the grocery store, produce aisle. Pick your fruits, your vegetables, that's something that will be, if you're starting a plant-based pantry or vegan pantry, that's your cart should probably be first full with those. Your greens, your root vegetables, your all the favorite vegetables, or something that you can experiment with too. A lot of times people think about just giving you parsnips, turnips, some vegetables like that as what are you going to do? Just put them in your cart. Then when you're navigating through grocery stores, something that a lot of nutritionists and also dietitians recommend, that it's called middle aisle shopping. In the grocery stores are designed in such a tricky way that on the sides usually you will find easy to eat grab and go food, but you have to navigate yourself through middle aisles. Most of middle aisles you will find your dried beans, grains, lentils. Those will become your staple in the pantry. Now, dried beans and lentils, they require some soaking and they require some processing before you cook. And day-to-day life, sometimes it's not always possible to do all those lengthy processes. So move on to the canned aisle. Canned beans and lentils, they can also be your staple. Just make sure that you look at the sodium content and read the label. If it does not have any added ingredients, if it's not high in sodium. And lately I've noticed most of the grocery aisles have no salt added beans and lentils, or all the usual things they in the cans. There's no salt added. That's great to use too in a rush. Drain it out, rinse it a few times and use it in a salad or your favorite recipe. Then the next aisle, usually, even in the canned aisle, I would say there are some other products like low sodium vegetable broth. They are amazing to flavor some grains, right? The dry grains, if you're using dry grains like quinoa, farro, barley, they actually flavor the grains so nicely when you cook them in a low sodium vegetable broth, right? So that will be in your canned aisle. Another things are your nut butters. Almond butter, you're going to replace your regular, if you're used to eating regular butters, the nut butters, they are amazing. They're very good source of healthy fats. And, those can be found in these aisles. And then the last aisle, usually I would say, is the freezer aisle. Great source of frozen fruits and frozen vegetables. So this is how it's very easily you can stock a vegan pantry or start a vegan pantry. Some of my staples I would always have or recommend having in a vegan pantry: chickpeas, black beans, yellow lentils. Very easy to cook, quick cooking. They literally cook in 10 to 15 minutes, right? Quinoa, that is my go-to food. I always like quinoa. The little white grains. Again, very easy to cook. It cooks in 10 to 12 minutes on the stove. You can cook it in an Instapot or whatever, kitchen appliance you have, those small appliance you have, but very easy to cook on stove. And always, that's my staple to go. Always have quinoa cooked and ready in your fridge. You can add it with anything and add more nutrition, to your plate. So this is like, my grocery shopping, nice trip to grocery shopping to stack your vegan pantry. These are the aisles and these are the foods that you'll be looking for. Now, in the kitchen, to make your life easier, a few things that I would recommend is have certain kitchen appliances. A food processor is a very, very good tool. It really helps you with all your vegetables that you have chopped. You can shred them, slice them, dice them, grate them, add to a sauce, add to a can of tomatoes, and make a nice sauce out of it. Another one is a NutriBullet, or any small high-speed blender and a large high-speed blender. Those are also your go-to appliances. You will use them in and out. You can make nut butters, you can make smoothies, you can make dressings, so many things on your own if you have these, basic 2 or 3 appliances. Tools, nice sharpened knives. Often people underestimate the importance of knives when you have a vegetarian or vegan kitchen. Nice sharpened knives will really be your best friend. And I've sort of I enjoy chopping vegetables because I have nicely sharpened knives. You go fast. It's sort of honestly to me, Dr. Shah, I have also mentioned that it's meditative to me sometimes. Nice knife and you keep chopping vegetables. It's So people underestimate it. Once again, you make sure you have good quality sharpened knives. That will be your best friend. And something, measuring cups and measuring spoons. We always think that those are only for baking. But no, they make sure that you use it in your day-to-day cooking. And it will help you so much with realizing, sometimes overestimating how much amount of, if you're cooking with oil, how much oil you're putting. You're cooking with salt, how much salt you're putting. My go-to rule is, in the salt container, always have half teaspoon. And in the oil container, always have 1 teaspoon. So you'll always remember how much you're adding. So, we're quantitative people. We like to know the numbers, or sometimes don't like to know the numbers, but that will give you an idea of, how much you're putting. And that will help you to cut down rather than just pouring your oil in your pan and thinking that, okay, this is nothing. It's so many people tell me, I don't know, I don't use much, but when you see them pouring, you don't realize how much you're using. So this would be my few go-to vegan kitchen staples, if you like to call it. And
I have a question, Kalindi. What do you think about Instant Pot and air fryer and all those things that are coming up in market? It's been around, I'm just saying, but what do you think about them?
I have resisted both of them. I had
Yeah.
resisted until last month. I'm not even joking.
Is that right? Wow.
I mean, I find it very convenient. I find Instapot very convenient for those who like to put something in and, just as last year we realized the pandemic work life,
Right.
between kitchen and trying to work. I think in those situations, they are very useful. You put them on, put something on and forget it and it will cook itself and it will sit there.
Yeah, the way I
That's
know, like a lot of beans may not even have to be soaked,
right.
and you just put the water and just leave it there, and just come back half an hour later. It's all ready, kind of thing. So I thought that also can be very convenient for some.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Especially one of the easier beans and grains, they
right.
cook so fast in it, and honestly, like, you forget about it, you come back and your meal is ready. So it is very, very convenient.
And air fryer, maybe some like potato chips or like sweet potato chips or things like that. I mean, I
Right.
don't know much about all these things, but that's why I was asking you. See, the another question I had was the you still have to balance, right? I mean, the groceries and all that, but we really have to balance because for a vegan diet, it's very important that we really make sure that we're getting the whole food like really well and the balance of all three major components: the whole carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats, right? So how do you decide so that you don't deviate from one into other, things like that? So each recipe, I guess you have to, or each meal, you have to keep it in mind, right?
Right.
Because otherwise, invariably, and the main thing we have to understand is all the beans do not provide the same amino acids. So some may have five, some may have two. Compared to meat, meat is considered a complete meal from the protein point of view because it is a direct link animal to animal. But of course, it has its own so many disadvantages and all that. So we have to need to rotate the pulses and rotate the beans and things like that, right? So
Often people think that vegan diet or a plant-based diet is full of carbohydrates and they're missing proteins, which is sort of well, just like you said before, if you do your thorough research, you know that a vegan diet, a whole food plants-based diet is full of, it gives you all your macronutrients. Macronutrients meaning your major building blocks, which are carbohydrate, fats, and proteins. With whole food plant-based diet, having complex carbohydrates is the key. So if you're going to eat complex carbohydrates like whole grains, example quinoa, just like you said, Dr. Ashar, right? That
yep.
all the with whole food plant-based diet, what you have to understand is balancing that you're eating a large variety of beans, like lentils, of grains, because each different grains, beans, lentils have something to offer. They have something, a new nutrient to offer. So when you bring in variety in your diet, when you try, for example, one night you try yellow lentils, next night you try black lentils, then try brown lentils. All of them will give you different nutrients, and it is extremely important to have variety in your diet. In general, variety, colors, flavors, they make everything exciting, and so they make your plate exciting, and they give you a wholesome nutrition. And
That's what
that's why this entire variety exists, right?
That's why I tell my patients, I said, he says, what do I eat? I said, it's the other way around. How you are satisfied with 4 or 5 meats, either you have lamb or chicken or fish or goat, that's it. But God has created so many different beautiful varieties of a whole food plant-based diet, tons of fruits, tons of veggies, tons of everything, nuts and seeds, and everything has a very, very rich variety of plethora of beautiful phytonutrients and everything. And of course, as we already discussed in the past, that whole food plant-based diet is the only diet that will give you plenty of fiber. Like animal food has zero fiber, so you cannot get any fiber. So fiber also, of course, is very important in reducing the. So all this requires a balance, so that we all have to keep a very open mind. So that, I think, is very, very beautiful about the whole food plant-based diet. And the another thing I wanted to mention is the joy. Forget about going to the restaurants. I mean, you will, I know you will, but just cooking and putting all the ingredients together, it's some kind of joy that comes out of it. So little by, again, it takes time, but as you can see on Kalindi's face, she just has a passion for all these things. It can happen. It can happen to everyone, you know.
Kalindi, I have another question. So I know we would rather not put any oil in the food that we make, and make food by vegetable broth. That's what I like to do. But let's say we need to put oil. Uh, what do you think would be a sort of a good oil to cook with? And some families and some people may actually prefer to put some oil inside. So we have to actually take that into account. So what would you think would be a good oil? And secondly, what would be a good plant-based fat? We're saying absolutely no animal fat. That's really bad. But what is a good plant-based fat? And there are lots of them. So what do you think about it?
Oil, I know with whole food plant-based diet, we use either minimal or no oil in cooking. And trust me, people think we are used to thinking oil as a flavoring agent, but it is not. You have a plethora of spices around. When you go to grocery stores, add spices to your list, or open up your spice cabinet where it's dust, probably spices are catching dust. Then add them to your food. That's the flavor of food. Herbs growing in your backyard, in your garden, or if you buy when you go to produce, I'll pick up herbs, cilantro, basil, thyme, wonderful herbs. They are the flavor. They have the flavor. And these herbs, they have essential oils in them. So when you add them to food, the oils are the one that bring the flavor, right? The natural oils that are in the herb. So that brings me to the question to what oils?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because I tell my patients, I said, you really think the oil is necessary? All right, get a teaspoonful of oil and just swallow it up. Yeah, I don't like it. I said, see, there you go. The oil doesn't have any taste. It's the taste, it's the spices. Beautiful. You brought it out very nice. Natural oils. That's very nice.
All of them have natural oils, the herbs, and so add spices. If you must use oil, one of them is olive oil is a good cooking oil. Avocado oil is a good cooking oil. I mean, if you like extra virgin olive oil, it's usually like much for flavor. So you add it to salads because, you don't want to waste an expensive extra virgin olive oil, flavorful extra virgin olive oil in cooking, because it's not going to give you that, that flavor as olive oil will do.
I might have to differ a little bit in the sense, but my research always has come up with the canola oil has the least amount of saturated fat. So yes,
I was going to come to that, Dr. Shah. Yes, I do use canola oil. Yes.
Right, yeah, canola oil is one of the least saturated fats. So even better than olive oil, even though it's been touted as one of the most popular oils and this and that and all that. But it may have its own place, but for cooking, I think canola oil, if at all.
With flavor, canola oil is it does not have a strong flavor. Olive oil has a stronger flavor. So, canola oil is called neutral tasting. So, that may with cooking. But as I say, the rule with oil is always have a measuring spoon in your whatever oil container or you're using oil. So you know how much you're using. And, and our healthy fats in whole food plant-based diet, nuts, seeds, they are our best friends. Almonds, walnuts, especially walnuts, good for your brain, good for your heart. Peanuts a little on the less side, pistachios, macadamia nuts, Brazilian nuts. There's so much variety, and all those, they have abundance of healthy fats. So vegan pantry, nuts are a must, or any pantry, I would say nuts are a must. But the rule of thumb is don't overindulge. They're very easy to overindulge too. Right, Dr. Shah, would you agree, Dr. Kasubhai?
Absolutely, yeah. Nuts are very good, but you just have to have a balance. But that's what I say, different food groups and different varieties of foods. I think that's the key of the whole food plant-based diet. And that keeps you excited for the next meal rather than having the same all the time.
And just a point of caution out here would be that if you have these nuts from the market, they are roasted and they're roasted in peanut oil.
Correct. No good.
That really actually destroys whatever benefits that your raw nuts can give you. So try to be very careful that they should not be roasted in peanut oil.
And again, as I said, with the herbs and how they have oils, nuts, when you roast them, you can roast them in your oven. They have natural oils in them. When you roast them, they're so aromatic. So you don't really need to buy nuts with oil or anything. So when you are buying your nuts, make sure you buy it from
about it. Because we are so used to, that's what I said, they have a joy in cooking yourself. And you come with all these innovative ideas, like this was a pretty new idea to me. And even though we just eat. I eat them raw anyway. I'm a raw food. But the people who roast that, that's a great thing. It doesn't take much to really roast it. But you said they have a natural oil themselves. So why do you have to spray any oil or add any oil? Nothing. It's a wrong belief. So when we bring it, it's salted and sugar and everything and fried and all that. So we like it, we eat it, we never think about. But these are the oils that increases the because they are hydrogenated oils they use and all that. So that leads to atherosclerosis and coronary artery disease. So all those things, I think Dr. Moyes brought a beautiful point. So don't bring the nuts which are roasted and ready-made, create your own. It's a good thing. Yeah.
And another thing, like when you buy flavored nuts, like, roast sugar or with spices or anything,
Right.
yes, they have peanut oil in them. Plus, we had discussed also in the past that these packaged foods themselves are made to get you addicted. So you're not going to stop versus try eating no salt, roasted or raw nuts. You will not overindulge.
I like to go on a hike. I was with a few friends the other day, and I carry my roasted chana and home roasted peanuts, right? And people exchange foods, and we at the end of the hike, it's tough, or during the hike. So I gave one of the girls with us, I gave her chana and the roasted peanuts, but they had no salt. 1 second, she gives it back to me. Oh no, that doesn't have enough salt. There you go. I said, you're here in the nature. You should eat natural food, but they don't like it. It's training our taste bud.
Absolutely.
Another misconception, Annie Kalinde, I think I want to talk more about is the feeling outside the world, outside our world out here, is that vegan food is costlier, that plant-based food takes a lot of time to make. Well, it's absolutely the reversal. It's much faster to make. It's much more nutritious, and is actually cheaper
Cheaper.
than any other animal
Yeah,
protein food that you can have right now.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
So I think it's a win-win-win for everyone, and especially in busy lives that we all live right now, with kids, with both parents working. This is a food that you can make very quickly. It's very nutritious. You can use, as Dr. Shah mentioned, multiple ingredients and change it every day. So the kids are not having the same food every day.
I'm giving my patients a nice comparison. Say you take a cup of chicken, right? Say it gives you 15 grams of protein. 1 cup of black beans will also give you 15 grams of protein, right? But 1 cup of chicken will give you, I think, 112 milligrams of cholesterol versus black beans, zero cholesterol, right? But then you compare the cost. A cup of chicken might cost you $3. A can of beans is 60 cents. How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong, right? So it's really hands down, the whole food plant-based diet can be very, very reasonably priced. No question about it. So we'll talk about recipes now. So that's where
Oh,
your
wow,
expertise
that's
is.
the most exciting part.